They claim an empire can be destroyed by a single piece of evidence. And that time has finally come for Kirk Frost. After years of carefully guarded secrets, betrayals, and rumors, Jasmine has returned with something much more harmful than words: receipts. And not just any receipts, the type that are unflappable, unleaving, and devoid of opportunity for justifications. Her discovery has the potential to destroy Kirk's entire universe. It's evidence that goes beyond private trades, secret texts, and adulterous transactions that reveal a side of him that no one has ever seen. The man who used to present himself as a wise and devoted husband. Jasmine dumps the proof just before the businessman is ready to suffer the ultimate exposure. Alliances fall apart, jaws drop, and Kirk's meticulously crafted career teeters on the verge of disintegrating. And there's no turning back once the truth is out. No one, not even Kirk Frost, anticipated the bombshell, even though the tension had been building for months. To the public, Kirk remained the family man, the businessman, and the seasoned reality TV personality who had survived every adversity and maintained his profession. With Rashida at his side, he had created an empire, earned millions from TV, music, and endorsements, and even used past controversies as springboards to further his notoriety. However, things weren't as stable behind the scenes as they appeared. The rumors had started to circulate once more. Rumors of dubious transactions, late-night gatherings, and the exchange of confidential funds. As usual, Kirk dismissed it, sure that no one could prove anything. He had previously gotten away with worse. He believed it would be the same this time. He was unaware that Jasmine, who had been mute for years, was observing. Jasmine had been portrayed as the antagonist, the other woman, and the person who destroyed the house. The Kirk hoped the world would forget the controversy. Fans had ridiculed her in front of the camera and called her anything from desperate to insane. However, nobody was aware of Jasmine's potent evidence, and she had decided it was time to put it to use. After everything Kirk had done, a folder was the first thing. Screenshots of months' worth of SMS messages were included. Discussions regarding offshore between Kirk and a business colleague, accounts, money laundering, and slightly illegal payouts. The pictures then surfaced, showing Kirk conducting business he insisted didn't exist and holding covert encounters with strangers at locations he never identified. Last but not least, there were bank records, wire transactions from shell corporations, hush money payments to individuals who were never allowed to speak, and even receipts for opulent presents bought with company money. Cheating was no longer the only thing at stake. This was material that would end a career. If this proof made it to the public, Kirk can lose everything in addition to Rashida. For weeks, Jasmine held onto the evidence, not sure if she should make it public. A part of her desired retribution for the years of deceit and disrespect. Another part of her desired justice not just for herself, but also for Rashida, the deceived fans, and the truth. However, there was no doubt that the moment had arrived. The chance arose when the new Love and Hip Hop movies filming got underway. Atlanta Reunion Special. For the first time in seasons, Jasmine was asked back by the producers, who were desperate for drama and viewers. A few tense remarks were to be expected. Well, perhaps a fight, but they didn't know what she had in mind. Before Jasmine took the stage, the reunion was already uncomfortable. Rashida had talked candidly about starting over. The audience appeared prepared to accept Kirk's public apology for his previous transgressions, but then something changed. A manila package was in Jasmine's hands as she entered with a composed, almost frigid bearing. She interrupted the discourse in the middle of her statement. Before we begin, I believe that everyone should see the truth, but Rashida in particular. There was silence in the room. Kirk's expression changed at once. His self-assured smile disappeared, replaced by a terrified expression. That tone was familiar to him. He had been dreading the day Jasmine would come for him for years, and now it was taking place. What are you discussing? Kirk's voice cracked a little as he asked. This, Jasmine said. You've been hiding everything, and now you're showing it off. Every lie, every dime, and every indication that your little, flawless fraud is based on corruption. The room was filled with gasps. Rashida seems perplexed as well. Without saying another word, her voice trembled as she said, "What proof?" In front of host Mona, Jasmine positioned the envelope on the table in the middle of the stage. It contained a USB stick, a number of printed screenshots, and photocopied bank documents. After carefully flipping through the pages, Mona's eyes widened. "Jasmine," said Mona in a whisper, "this is real. This is serious." Calmly, Jasmine said, "Kirk has been hiding money, lying about business endeavors, and using his company to cover up stuff you don't even want to hear about. Every text, every transfer, every dirty deal. Kirk was captured on camera." His forehead was starting to perspire. His voice betrayed his attempt to laugh it off. "This is absurd. She is merely attempting to destroy me." "Ruin you?" Jasmine retaliated. "Kirk, no, that's what you did alone." The audience burst out, incredulous. The cast muttered to one another. A few people covered their lips in shock, while others gazed at Rashida, anticipating her response. She remained motionless, her mind whirling as she took in each word. As she turned the pages, Mona remarked, "This isn't just a scandal. Legal issues could arise if this is real. Careers could be lost as a result." Jasmine's arms were folded. "That's right. Additionally, Kirk has been lying to everyone, including Rashida, while appearing untouchable, which is why I kept it. And the world ought to be aware." Kirk's mask fell off entirely. He screamed, "You have no idea what you're talking about." "Of that? Half is phony." Jasmine asked, "Then explain it. Describe the payments. Describe the fraudulent businesses. Describe how the funds vanished from accounts Rashida isn't even aware of." Kirk was stunned. For the first time, he lacked a prepared statement, an explanation, or a cunning justification. There was no way to twist the facts, which was there in black and white. At last, Rashida said something. "Is that accurate?" she asked. Her eyes were fixed on Kirk as she questioned quietly. Unable to meet her eyes, Kirk glanced down at the table and asked, "Did you do all this?" "I can explain." "No," she answered, getting to her feet. "I want the truth. I don't want explanations." However, in truth, Rashida had the answer beforehand. She also came to a realization that she had been trying to avoid for years. As the cameras rolled and the evidence accumulated, this was more than just a failed marriage. She couldn't forgive this level of deception. It was as if the room had stopped breathing. Every startled look and every small gesture was captured on camera. Kirk's lips were frozen as he sat, opened, but nothing came out. Satisfied that the truth had finally surfaced after years of deceit and manipulation, Jasmine stood composedly with her arms folded. Rashida simply gazed at the papers strewn all over the table, another stab to the heart with every page. She had trusted Kirk's claim that the past was behind them for years. When he assured her that there would be no more lies or secrets, she believed him. Now, however, their assurances were meaningless in front of millions. The evidence, the transactions, and the screenshots all presented an entirely different picture. And betrayal was no longer the only issue. It was deception. Theft was committed. Corruption was the cause. The stillness was broken by Rashida. "Jasmine, I didn't do something to make you look bad. I took action because you deserve to be informed about your true spouse." After all these years, Rashida gulped hard and blinked back tears. "And darling, you continued to lie. Those transactions, they're complicated," Kirk eventually remarked, his voice shaking. "It's not what you think. The business world is complex. You are aware of how this sector operates." "Complicated," Rashida said again, raising her voice. "You were concealing funds. You misled investors. You were moving funds into accounts that I was completely unaware of. It's not difficult. It's a premeditated move." There was a murmur of agreement from the throng. Even Mona, who is normally calm, was having trouble keeping the set under control. "Kirk," she began slowly, "these documents are quite serious if they are authentic. Here, we're discussing possible legal concerns. This goes beyond a simple scandal." With his confidence mask long gone, Kirk massaged his face with both hands. He argued that this was all out of context. "It's not what it appears." Jasmine refused to accept it. After that, explain to everyone why you transferred $50,000 to an offshore account using a fictitious business name. Explain to them why you were giving hush money to people. Explain to them why you were using a shell company that was registered in your cousin's name to transfer money. Kirk parted his lips, then shut them again. No justification, no clever comeback. Rashida stated in a trembling but firm voice, "This isn't about me anymore. It's about your actions and the fact that you have once again made me feel ashamed." Gradually, she got to her feet and approached Jasmine. For the first time in years, The two women were standing together with a mutual understanding rather than yelling or mayhem. Both of them had been duped and deceived, but now the truth brought them together. "Thank you," murmured LHHATL in a low voice. Jasmine gave a nod. Whispers ran across the studio. "You deserved better." The change in energy was felt even by the audience. Rashida was not the same person who had previously stood up for Kirk in every scandal. This woman had had enough of justifications. A woman prepared to take back her authority. A woman prepared to take back her authority. Chaos followed Kirk off stage as the night's reunion filming came to a conclusion. His phone was constantly buzzing with calls from the network, his business partners, and his lawyer. Already, there were rumors that he might be the subject of an internal probe. Sponsors threatened to back out of agreements. One company enraged by the revealed transactions, the associate even called for an urgent meeting. LHHATL sat quietly on the side of her bed at home. Her thoughts were racing as she gazed out the window at the shimmering city lights. Because of decisions she hadn't made, her life and all she had created were falling apart. Her cell rang. Her manager had sent her a message. "We must speak. All of our brands may be impacted by this." She let out a sigh. It could, of course. Kirk lied about more than just himself. They were competent. This controversy could bring down every agreement, sponsorship, and brand they have created together. Kirk entered the bedroom later that evening. He glanced weary, nearly vanquished. Quietly, "We need to talk," he whispered. Rashida didn't even give him a glance. He stepped closer and whispered, "Please, talk about what?" "More lies. I need your attention." "Why?" At last, she looked him in the eyes and snapped. "So you may give me another justification. Tell me it isn't what it appears to be." "It is what it appears to be, Kirk." Once more, betrayal occurs. It's worse this time, though. It had to do with business. He made an effort to clarify. "I needed to take action. I have to keep us safe. Keep us safe." Bitterly, she laughed. "You were defending yourself. You were keeping money hidden from everyone, including investors and me. Regarding our money, you were dishonest. You misrepresented yourself. Look where we are now." She resisted Kirk's attempt to take her hand. "I messed up," he said. "However, I can resolve this." "You cannot," she answered icily. "This isn't a mistake, so you can't fix it. You are who you are." Her remarks were more profound than anything she had ever spoken. For the first time, Kirk's face crumbled as he realized the harm was irreparable. The days that followed were even worse. The media quickly seized onto Jasmine's evidence. Potential lawsuits were the talk of the headlines. Criminal charges and IRS probes. Investors supported out of alliances. Overnight, one of Kirk's largest endorsement contracts was canceled. Piece by piece, the empire he had constructed on false pretenses was falling apart. Jasmine's evidence, meanwhile, was no longer solely in her possession but was now in the hands of solicitors. Every organization that Rashida's legal team came across was the subject of an internal audit. Kirk's name was gradually being eliminated from brand arrangements and contracts. Every financial choice was being reviewed, and LHHATL privately struggled with the inevitable choice. A part of her still holds on to the memories they had made together, the family they had created, and the years they had spent together. The stronger side, however, was aware that staying would require making all the concessions. By the end of the week, she stood for. She had decided. She requested the documents over the phone from her attorney. It would not be a simple task. It was painful, nasty, and public, but it was required. In addition to shattering her heart, the man she had once trusted had endangered her heritage. She would never be able to forgive that. There was nothing but mayhem in the days that followed. In real time, Kirk's formerly flawless and impenetrable environment was collapsing. A new problem, a new revelation, or a new headline appeared every hour. Banks were calling. The IRS had formally opened an investigation into his companies. Everywhere he went, cameras followed, and partners he had known for years didn't pick up the phone. "I'm hungry for the downfall of a man who used to seem invincible." For Rashida, no roaring battle could compare to the quiet at home. Kirk had been temporarily expelled from the house while she worked things out. However, she felt in her heart that there was nothing more to discover. Her ex-lover wasn't merely an infidelity victim. He was a manipulator, a liar, and possibly a criminal. Now, she met with brand managers, accountants, and solicitors during the day. using a fine-tooth comb to go over every aspect of their finances. Something terrible was revealed on each page: unauthorized withdrawals, secret accounts, and dubious alliances. It seemed as though she had never met the man to whom she had been married. 2. The money and the lies weren't the hardest part for a long time. It was a breach of confidence. Kirk had deceived her not only as a spouse but also as a business associate. Because of his avarice and conceit, the empire they built together and the brand they established together were now in jeopardy. One afternoon, when Rashida was reviewing paperwork with her lawyer, she discovered something that completely stopped her cold. She had never heard of the company to which the $250,000 was transferred. She instantly recognized the name of the receiver, a lady. Jasmine was the one. She was brought back to reality by the voice of her lawyer. He said, "Do you know this person?" Slowly, Rashida nodded. "Everything got worse when I realized. I know exactly who she is." Kirk had not only cheated on Jasmine, but he had also used their business money to help her. This was theft, not just treachery. Rashida had dinner with two of her best friends, Yandy and Carly, that night. This time, the cameras weren't rolling. Yandy said, "This was personal. Girl, you look exhausted," as soon as she took a seat. When Rashida said, "I feel exhausted," Carly leaned forward and said, "Every day I learn something new, and every time it's worse than I thought." "You're really going to go through with it, aren't you?" "Divorce," groaned Rashida. "I have no other option. He didn't simply turn on me. He put all we had built in jeopardy. He's attempting to bring me down with him now." Yandy stated strongly that you owe him nothing. Not forgiveness, not loyalty, nothing. Rashida nodded, although it still ached in the back. A part of her still mourned the life she believed she had, the family, the relationship, and the dream, despite her outward strength. Now it was gone, replaced by hard facts and legal documentation. Kirk, meanwhile, was in a downward spiral. He was no longer allowed inside the places of business that formerly honored him. He was shunned by old pals. One by one, the endorsements came out. Additionally, the IRS probe is imminent. Criminal charges were a very real possibility. He attempted to contact Rashida. She ignored the several texts and dozens of calls. Nothing else could be said. He had said it all before, and it was all untrue. Desperate, he unexpectedly arrived at the residence one evening. A part of Rashida wanted to hear his words, but she thought about not answering the door. She required resolution. His first words were, "Please," as she opened the door. "Just give me 5 minutes. 5 minutes, she replied, icily. When Kirk entered, he appeared smaller than she had ever seen him. "Then you leave," he started. "I know you hate me, and I'm worthy of that. However, I assure you that I never intended for any of this to occur. It was never your intention." Rashida said it again, her voice trembling with rage. "You had no intention of cheating. It wasn't your intention to lie. You didn't intend to give her money that you had stolen from our business." Kirk lowered his head. "I erred. No," she firmly said. "Ignoring an anniversary is a mistake. In a debate, it's a mistake to say something you don't mean. It wasn't a mistake what you did. There were several options, and all of them were self-centered." Kirk's eyes welled with tears. "I lost everything." Silently, he said, "My name, my family, and my career. They weren't lost," Rashida remarked. "You discarded them." Kirk didn't say anything for a long time. "Is there any possibility that we can resolve this?" Rashida responded right away. No, nothing struck Kirk more forcefully than that one word. There was only cold, unquestionable finality. No yelling, no fighting, no dramatic showdown. "I'm going to file for divorce," she added. "Additionally, I'm closing down every company we co-founded. I am nothing and you are nothing from now on." With tears running down his cheeks, Kirk nodded. "Good," she murmured, making her way to the door. "I understand. Now leave." The door shut behind Kirk as he left the house. A chapter of Rashida's life also passed along with it. She felt free for the first time in years. Happiness did not bring that kind of freedom. It was the type that accompanied tranquility. The assurance that no one could ever shatter her like once more. Rashida met with her solicitors the following morning and signed the preliminary documents to dissolve their business partnership and marriage. There was a long road ahead, full with court cases, money problems, and public scrutiny. She wasn't afraid, though. She had persevered through worse. She wasn't just getting by this time. She was getting up. Additionally, fans all over the world came together to support her once the divorce was made public online. She was no longer being referred to as a victim. They were referring to her as she really was. A queen, a survivor, a lady who refused to let the treachery of others define her. The news cycle never stopped. Once associated with music and business, Kirk's name was now associated with controversy and shame. His empire was disintegrating in fragments. And there was no turning back this time. Rashida, on the other hand, was beginning a new phase of her life. She was suddenly in the spotlight, speaking for herself and creating something new out of the wreckage her husband left behind, whereas before she had remained quietly by his side. However, recovery wasn't simple. The pain continued to weigh heavily in her chest even as the legal paperwork progressed and the world applauded her bravery. Her chest was still heavy with agony. On certain nights, she would lie awake reliving every lie, betrayal, and instance in which she had decided to put her faith in someone who wasn't deserving of it. She experienced more than just heartbreak. It was humiliation. Given her strength and intelligence, how could she have failed to recognize the warning signs? How could she have allowed him to repeatedly deceive her? She then reminded herself that she wasn't there out of weakness. It was affection. Furthermore, love, no matter how strong, is not a justification for continuing to put up with rudeness. Rashida made her first public appearance after the divorce news broke one afternoon when she sat down for an exclusive interview. The world waited to hear her side of the story as the cameras rolled. "I refuse to lie," she started. Rashida calmly responded, "I don't hate Kirk for what he did. Hate means I still care. This has been the most painful chapter of my life, but it's also been the most liberating. I gave everything I had to someone who didn't value it, and now I'm giving everything I have to myself. What I feel is nothing, and that's the most powerful feeling of all." Within hours, the interview went viral, and fans poured supportive messages onto social media, with women sharing their own betrayal stories and describing Rashida's journey as real, empowering, and inspiring. Without realizing it, she had become a symbol of rebirth as well as strength, while Kirk was on the decline. He was struggling to make ends meet, his finances frozen, his reputation ruined, opportunities gone. And when the IRS formally opened a criminal case into the shell companies associated with his name, it felt like the last nail in the coffin.